Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks so much for joining me as we dive back into 28 years later content. So up first, we're going to be checking out a jaw-dropping, and I literally mean jaw-dropping image of an alpha infected confronting Dr. Ian Kelson. This image is really something else. But it brings up the question, is Sony giving away too much in the marketing with this one image? I'm not so sure. I don't think they are personally, but I can see why someone may think that. But regardless, we're going to check out that image. We'll give a theory and kind of a breakdown as to what's going on in that image in that scene. After that, we'll check out some artwork, some marketing, and then at the end of the video, you're going to want to stick around because I'll be taking a few subscriber questions, and who knows, maybe your question or comment on one of my previous videos made it to the end of this video, so you're definitely going to want to stick around to see if your question, comment, or theory is at the end of the video. And with that down, let's start off with jumping into this new alpha infected image. So up first, we're going to take a look at this juicy new image. I think Sony's been a little bit naughty here. Even though this isn't technically a spoiler because it's been shown in the marketing, that means that the studio wants the audience to see this imagery. I think they're getting towards spoiler kind of territory here with these kind of images. I mean, this is a major confrontation between an alpha and a human character, so, you know, make of it what you will. But anyway, so let's take a look at the image as a whole before we get into a theory about what's going on here. So obviously we have the alpha infected there. He's an absolute beast. The guy's jacked beyond belief. When you compare him to Dr. Ian Kelson, Kelson looks really ridiculously small. We've got obviously Jodie Comer's character sat there on the floor, kind of watching the scene unfold in the background. But the infected, alpha infected I should say, is staring down Kelson like, what are you going to do? Kind of like squaring up to him. He's got a couple of arrows, one shot into his arm, one shot into his chest, and he's standing there like he's not even affected. So, like, definitely enhanced endurance, and this scene is going to be so intense and crazy. But anyway, I'm going to give my theory here as to what I think is going on. I could be way off, but guys, let me know what you think about this theory anyway. So, I believe that Dr. Kelson has a truce with the alpha and the infected. In other words, he's going to stay out of their territory and the infected will stay out of his territory. Kind of a truce there when it comes to boundaries. Spike and his mum encounter the alpha on the train, and then Spike proceeds to shoot the alpha with several arrows, pissing him off. Obviously, we've seen that in the marketing. We've seen that confrontation between Jodie Comer, Spike, and then the alpha popping up on the train. We know that Spike shoots the alpha with several arrows. Spike and his mum then escape off the train, away from the alpha, and they proceed to find Dr. Kelson. I believe then the alpha tracks them down to find them with Dr. Kelson. So, I believe that the alpha also proceeds to kind of square up to Kelson, kind of reminding him or kind of threatening him, you stay away from me and I'll stay away from you, that kind of scene unfolding there. But not just that, obviously during the train scene, I think that the alpha has killed Eric Sundqvist, and then in this scene, I think that he has the severed head of Eric Sundqvist, and he basically drops it at the feet of Dr. Ian Kelson here. Then we see Kelson extract the skull, and then in the marketing where we see Spike putting the skull on top of the bone temple, Eric Sundqvist's skull is placed up on the temple, and yeah, I believe that's kind of how this plays out. Also, another theory, if we look at this from another point of view, potentially this could be what's going on as well. Dr. Ian Kelson could have previously been an infected, and the alphas could look at Ian Kelson and think, you know what, he used to be one of us. We need to give this guy leeway. He still used to be one of us. We still see him as one of us, as one of our kind of tribe of infected. That's why we're not going to attack him. We're going to leave him alone. We're not going to pursue him. Just leave him to do his own thing. But still, the alpha is pissed because he feels that Kelson has allowed these humans to kind of attack him. And that's why the alpha's pissed. But yeah, the fact that Kelson used to be an infected and he found a cure, and the alphas still see him as kind of one of their own. That's another big theory out there, guys. Let me know what you think about that. So, up next, let's dive into this really fun promotional image here. So, we see Aaron Taylor-Johnson and his son making their way across the causeway back to Holy Island. And it looks like they're running for their lives. In the background, we have that Alpha infected chasing them down, and this scene looks really harrowing, haunting, eerie. And the fact in this image that behind them, the Alpha infected, there's no detail on the infected. It's completely blurred out, it's silhouetted, and that makes it all the more creepy. The fact that you can't see any details on him, like, it just invokes eeriness and creepiness, and it's just unbelievable. You know, this image is really, really cool. Whoever put this together on the marketing team, they've done a great job here. But we see how this scene kind of plays out in the marketing and the trailers. They get back to the Holy Island, and someone from the defenses shoots a gigantic bolt into the Alpha, and it hits the Alpha straight in the chest. How the Alpha is going to survive that gigantic bolt to the chest, I have no idea. But if he brushes it off and just continues, that would be the most insane thing in the world. But yeah, very, very interested to see how the scene plays out. And again, a really, really nice promotional image there. So, sticking with the theme of Alpha images, this one here, man, I know this image has been out for a while now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen this, but I wanted to take a second to kind of talk about it. This is just absolutely stunning cinematography. This is just incredible, and it invokes like so many different emotions and stuff. I mean, you look at this, we've got a grassy hill in the English countryside, we've got the clouds, we've got the kind of, I'm assuming it's sunset, I would assume, rather than being sunrise. The sunset, the clouds, the kind of grassy bank, the silhouetted tree, and then next to it we have an ominous single figure standing on the horizon, just kind of observing and monitoring their territory and seeing what's going on. I'm assuming that's going to be an Alpha there as well. Kind of monitoring and surveying his territory, trying to keep his other infected safe, making sure that no one's kind of trespassing. And this could be a sign of the heightened intelligence that they could be having. The fact that they have, you know, this mentality to kind of survey the area, make sure everything's safe. But just seeing this one single figure silhouetted against the sunset backdrop, it's really nice imagery, and it's absolutely stunning to look at. The cinematography is just great, and yeah, just images like this that you see, it looks so incredible, and I hope that we get a lot of these kind of shots in the movie. But it's just something I wanted to touch on there, guys. Let me know what you think about this. Are you like me, kind of awe-inspired about the cinematography and some of the shots? Would love to know what you guys think. Okay, so with that down, let's move on to our next piece of media here. So, up next, we're going to be taking a look at this fantastic piece of artwork. Again, sticking on the theme of alphas. It comes to us from user @steel_neck on the X platform. So, if you want to look up the artist, you can do. And accompanied with this image is the post, "If your eyes drop, they will get atop of you," which is obviously from that Boots poem that plays over the trailers. And they say, "A quick painting of a roided infected from the upcoming 28 years later." So yeah, I just wanted to take a quick look at this artwork. I love looking at artwork from different movies. I always find it fascinating to see what fans are going to come up with. But obviously we've got the Alpha there. His eyes are glowing red. We can see that he's hench. This guy is obviously doing a lot of workouts in his spare time, you know, when he's not eating people or hunting someone. But we can clearly see he's standing in front of the Bone Temple, which is pretty awesome, and he's holding a severed head, which a lot of people, again, are theorizing that it's Eric Sundqvist, that he rips the guy's head off. He's holding that head, potentially the same head that we see Dr. Ian Kelson holding in the marketing, and that's where the head comes from. It looks like the Alpha infected is potentially going to give the head to Dr. Ian Kelson. There was a question that came up in the comment section the other day about saying, how does Dr. Ian Kelson get the head of Eric Sundqvist? Well, apparently the Alpha infected gives it to him. So, you know, that's where it comes from. But pretty cool. I like this artwork. Pretty awesome to look at. So with that down, let's jump into some more goodies here. So, shifting gears away from talking about the alphas for a second. So, we're going to take a look at this. This is quite interesting. It happened a few days ago. So, 28 years later, symbols linked to film pop up in Northeast. So, we have these biohazard symbols popping up on these different monuments across northern England, which is really fascinating. So, let's have a quick read here. So, visitors to some of the Northeast's most viewed landmarks were met with surreal and unsettling sights this weekend. A giant glowing biohazard symbol projected against ancient walls, cliffsides, and hilltops. As it turns out, the eerie projections were part of a striking promotional campaign tied to the upcoming Sony Pictures film 28 Years Later, the hotly anticipated sequel to the cult horror classic 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Filmed and set across Northeast and North Yorkshire, 28 Years Later is due for global release on Friday, June the 20th. Obviously, it's released already today in France. Has been building momentum not just through trailers and stills, but through this weekend's atmospheric stunt that brought its fictional world to life. So yeah, I just wanted to dive into this quickly, guys, because I thought this was really cool. Again, another piece of marketing that goes beyond what we see for most films. So they're projecting this red biohazard symbol onto these monuments around northern places in England at these creepy kind of landmarks. So there seems to be no end to what they're doing with this marketing. They're going above and beyond. The marketing budget for this movie must be huge from what we've seen. They're just marketing it in every way that's humanly possible. But I'm so here for it. It's fun to look at. It's pretty cool. It's very unique and really, really cool. So, the campaign started on Friday, June the 13th, with projections lighting up Raby Castle, followed shortly by Penshaw Monument in Sunderland, where the biohazard symbol, long associated with the terrifying rage virus in the film's universe, shone ominously on the hillside beneath the monument, leaving early risers and night walkers in confusion. Could you imagine you go out to walk your dog, you go out for a night run, or whatever it is you may be doing in the local area, and then all of a sudden, in the distance, you see this gigantic red biohazard symbol just kind of glowing on the side of a monument. You'd be like, what the heck is this? If you have no... If you don't even know anything about this movie, just seeing this glowing up, you'd be like, what the heck is going on? On Saturday, Gibbside in Gateshead and Newcastle Castle received the same treatment with projections. By Sunday, the symbol spread to Arbia Fort in South Shields and the cliffs at Tynemouth. It's expected that other northeast monuments will be the site of the symbol on Monday too. So keep your eyes out, guys. If you live in the north, you may be seeing this symbol cropping up in a town near you very, very soon. But I thought that was pretty cool to look at, guys. Maybe some of you have seen this, maybe you haven't, but I thought it was unique, and I definitely thought it was worth taking a quick look and kind of diving into. So let's move on to our next piece of media. So, up next, guys, we have this brand new magazine cover here from Fangoria. I did show this image in the last video, but I didn't really talk on it. I didn't touch on it or say anything about it. So, I kind of want to dive into it a little bit here. I mean, taking a closer look at this guy here, he looks incredible. The practical effects on this guy, it just looks really, really good. But the feeling I get from this character is almost like the rest of the infected, they hate humanity and they want to kind of consume humanity. The rest of the infected want to become the dominant species in the UK, and they want to do everything to get rid of the human menace. Whereas this guy here, he seems to be like almost kind of like a good infected. Like, he sees humans in a different way to the rest of the infected. That he wants to bridge the gap between the infected and the human species, and it's almost like he's going to be the one trying to communicate with humans, trying to warn humans about the infected. And that's kind of the vibe I get from this guy. I may be going way too far, and I may just be kind of theorizing out of my ass. I absolutely may be. But that's kind of what I look at it. Like, this guy's going to be popping up. He's going to be trying to warn them, trying to communicate with them. Whether he can talk or not, I'm really not sure. It almost looks like in some of the TV spots where he's about to say something, but he kind of doesn't. Maybe he can say a couple of words, but not proper sentences. Throughout the trilogy, maybe their speech gets better and better. That's a possibility. But yeah, this guy doesn't look evil, he doesn't look menacing, and it looks like potentially he could be trying to help humans. But again, that's a theory. I could be completely wrong. I would love to know what you guys think about that theory of mine. Also, what do you think about just kind of his looks from a practical standpoint? Do you think he looks good? Do you think he looks bad? Guys, just let me know what you think of this new image and that theory that I just kind of gave there. So, we're going to take a look at this last image before we get to our subscriber questions. So, this comes to us from Cinemark Movie Rewards. Get an exclusive limited edition survival map when you see it starting on the 19th. So again, tying the merchandising and the advertising back into the world building here, this is really fun. So if you see it at Cinemark, you can get this exclusive map here, and it says reveal a message under black light. So if you put a black light on the map, reveals a hidden message. If anyone who's watching this video does get a hold of one of these maps, let us know what the message says when you hold a black light. Obviously, if it's a spoiler, then don't tell us. But if it's not a spoiler, I would love to know what the hidden message is. So if you do get your hands on this and you see the message, the hidden message, do let us know what it says. But obviously not if it's a spoiler. So let's zoom in here. We have a breakdown of what the actual map of the island looks like. I'm assuming this is going to be accurate to the actual movie. To the left, we have the Snook, the Watchtower, the North Beach. In the middle, we have the dunes. To the right here, we have the high pasture. We have the low pasture, the community garden, the village. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. So you see the castle down here, just by this sign. It says emergency evacuation point. And in my previous video where we were talking about the castle on Holy Island, I said the castle would be the best place to fall back to if the island was overrun. You would make a last-ditch survival effort, get everybody inside the castle, fortify the castle, and defend yourself against the infected from inside the castle. That would be the best place on the island to be. And it looks like that's kind of what the conclusion they've come to, because it says emergency evacuation point, and it's right next to where the castle is. So that's very interesting indeed. Yeah, and it says up here, a map of Lindisfarne, also known as Holy Island, showing the village, the Tudor castle, and the medieval priory. And we have a small little zoomed in version of the village in the top right hand corner. If you guys want to dig into that more, just do a screenshot and kind of take a look at the image and take a little bit more time to dig into it yourselves if you want to. It's a pretty interesting map, and I would love to frame this. I would love to have this. Really cool stuff. So with that down, guys, that brings us onto our subscriber questions. We'll take a few subscriber questions here and see what you guys had to say on my previous 28 years later videos. So our first subscriber question comes to us from user the Obsoletist33. And they say, so did the rest of the world just continue on with ordinary technological development? Not only did they still invent the iPhone, it even looks the same. I'm not really sure what they're talking about in regards to the iPhone, but when they say did the rest of the world just continue on with ordinary technological development? So I'm assuming that the rest of the world, even though this virus outbreak reached into Europe and Paris, it was pushed back to the UK mainland. I'm assuming that other countries around the world would just continue on as always. I mean, they've got economies to run, they've got businesses to, keep running, and people's lives wouldn't just come to a halt just because the UK is kind of under quarantine and, whatever's happening there. So I'm assuming other countries would be working just as normal, but it wouldn't surprise me if other countries have massive safety protocols in place. They have heavily kind of militarized their country. So on the borders, they probably have massive security zones set up just in case the virus manages to make it to their country. I'm sure they have maybe even martial law in certain countries where the military are in charge, just as a precaution until this kind of virus is dealt with. But other than having like a heavy military presence and these big kind of security measures and protocols, maybe even curfews on their residents where they have to be in by a certain time of the evening, I'm assuming the rest of the world is just continuing on as always. People are going to work, coming back, spending time with family, and there's no reason to think that other countries have kind of ceased to stop working as they always have. So that's the best way I can answer that question. Thanks so much for leaving that there. Let's move on to our second question. So up next, let's take a look at our second subscriber question. This comes to us from Dimitri7371, and he says the following: but how many infected are still alive though? In 28 weeks later, they start to rebuild London, only because they waited until the infected died of hunger, and at the end of the movie, when the virus is out of control, the city is burned. The virus leaked outside of the UK because of few infected survivors, but how many infected remain in the UK? It can't be more than a few thousand at the end of 28 weeks later, unless I missed something. So yeah, I mean, the thing is with this, it's really hard to speculate on the numbers of infected in the UK, because one of the big theories that's going around that we're going to be seeing in this movie, or potentially across this trilogy, is that the infected, as a result of a mutation or evolution, that they can now procreate or reproduce, whichever word you want to use, and they're basically spawning children infected, if you like, so there's going to be more of them than there was at the end of 28 weeks later. So, I mean, I never thought we would see this in the 28 franchise, I have to be honest. But yeah, the big theory is that they're reproducing, so their numbers are only going to increase. How much have they increased by? What is the actual numbers of how many infected are in the UK? We just don't know. Also, it seems that they've kind of formed their own civilization. They kind of, you know, have understanding, heightened intelligence, and it's just crazy. Until we see the movie and they actually shine a spotlight on the infected kind of civilization, we don't know how intelligent they are. We don't know how many of them there are. And when it comes to the mechanics of their reproduction, if that is in fact what's happening, we just really don't know. But that's the big theory going around. So when you take the reproduction into account, there could be, who knows, hundreds of thousands of them roaming around the UK. But that's a great question. I hope that's kind of give you something to think about there in regards to the reproduction theory. So let's move on to our third and final question. And moving on to our third and final subscriber question. This comes to us from user Circus Clapped. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds funny. I have a theory. I'm basing this off of 28 Weeks Later movie where carriers exist. It will probably connect to what's going on today, where people randomly snap, probably bipolar disorder or something similar that toggles the virus on or off depending on stress levels of the carrier. That is an interesting theory. I mean, what we've seen in some of the TV spots and marketing, I'm not sure if it's to do with CGI or not, but we see one of the alphas on the train, the scene where Spike is shooting him with arrows on the train. In some of the TV spots or TikTok videos, the alpha, his eyes are not glowing red, but then in some of the other marketing images and videos, his eyes are glowing red. So the theory that sometimes the rage virus snaps on or off inside the infected, making them more angry, and that when they do get angry and it snaps on, their eyes glow red, but then when they go back to their kind of normal base infected level, their eyes stop glowing red. I mean, that's an interesting theory. I'm not sure if it's correct. I could be way off. But like I say, we do see multiple images of the alpha with glowing eyes and not glowing eyes. So whether that's just because the production wasn't finished on the CGI of his eyes, or in fact the rage portion of the virus snaps on or off, like you say, that's a question that needs to be answered, and it's a great question to come up with. I would love to know what you guys think about that. That's an interesting theory, and I would love to see if that does in fact play out that way within the movie. There's so many questions here, guys, that we just can't answer until we see the movie, but bringing up these points, it's giving us a lot to think about in regards to this movie. So we'll have to have a list of these kind of small questions and tick them off as we watch the movie and see how it develops. But that's a great comment. I really appreciate you leaving that there, Circus Clapped. And that will do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for leaving those subscriber questions. You always take the time to leave the comments, and I want to take the time to address some of them in the best way that I can. As always, guys, thank you so much for being here, checking out this content. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun to put this video together. I hope you guys have enjoyed the information and some of the breakdown we did in this video. As always, if you haven't yet, make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't done so yet. And hit that notification bell to stay up to date with more 28 years later content. As we get closer to the film releasing, we're going to be doing reviews, we're going to be doing social media reactions, so a lot of good stuff to get to in the near future, and I hope you guys are going to be here tuning in for that. With that, Dan, I will see you guys, as always, in the next video.